We are going to be learning Excel. Before we get into the functionality that Excel has to offer by doing samples, let's focus on what Excel has to provide. So let's start from the tabs on the top. So if you look at the home, it gives you multiple functionalities to change the font, to do alignment to your text, to do conditional formatting. Conditional formatting meaning showing greater than, less than, between, equal to, adding data bars, color scales. Also formatting as different table, doing cell style, changing around the colors, inserting, deleting, and sorting and filtering, along with find and select. If we get to the Insert tab, it shows you how you can use pivot tables. You can add images, different shapes, different icons. Also, you can have multiple charts which you can use, for example, the waterfall, funnel, tree map, along with different kind of bar charts. You can also draw depending on what functionality you have. Page layout, which shows you the margin. It also shows you the orientation, shows you the size, depending on how you want to change the Excel. Also now, this is the most important one, formulas. So there are multiple formulas which you can use, some average, count numbers, max, min, to from simple to like super complicated. If, some if, financial ones, for example, you can do the effort, the duration, if you want to find out what duration it took, along with the rate, PV, yield, logical, and if error, not, or, different kind of text formatting, search, write, replace, date and time, date value, days, finding out the time it takes from one day to another, 2 hours. Looking up things, for example, address, areas, choose, filter, math, and trig. This involves costs and different kinds of trigonometry functions. Then there's stats, which you would averagely use for any stats, engineering, cube, information, compatibility. And then it comes down to using different kind of formulas, and if there is any error checking that you need to do. Then different ways to deal with your data. You can sort it, you can filter it, you can change it, you can get the data validation in. Then comes the review. That's just like if you need to get some external information. And view is how you want to showcase your data. So now that we have gone through this, let's get started to do samples. The first one we're going to focus on is add. So in order for you to do add similar to any other function that you're using, do equal, add the function name, and then what data you have here, and then it comes. Also, you don't have to make it too complicated. What you can do is you can do average as well, right? And average. So if you go to average, what you can see is average is another way you can find it. So it's not just sum that you can use, but average as well, or any other function that you use. Just always remember you have to do equal. Equal, and then the name of that particular function. It's a filter, is a sum, whatever you're using, but it has to have equal. Now let's move on to fill. Now what happens with fill is that you don't have to drag everything right. Now this is a very simple example. This is a table. Then what happens in real life scenarios, you have thousands of records. You're not really going to drag everything down. So what this allows you to do is, if I go here, double click, you see how everything comes up. Similarly, this thing by now is empty, but I'm going to get it populated. Okay, and that's a great part of it, like what we learned before, functions. If you have a function, you can use one function throughout multiple records. You don't have to just use it for one record, and it automatically populates for you. Let's move on to the third one, which is split. Now, what happens with split is that sometimes you get multiple records that are together, so you need to break them out. that is where you're going to be using the split function. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click my data. This is my data. I am going to go to the data tab. I'm going to go to split text to columns, delimited. Next, so this is showing at comma. Next, here I'm just going to say D because I want the data to be formatted, okay, in this format. So you see how everything was together, but now we have split it out. Let's move on to the next one, transpose. So transpose is a great function because what this allows you to is just like change the way your data is looking. So if I copy this, I go here, paste special transpose. You see how this shows up? Similarly, then there are multiple ways to transpose your data. Let's move on to the next one. Number 5, sort and filter. So with sort and filter, this is also great functionality that you have multiple records and you can organize them. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to click on December and then I am going to sort it. Sort. So you see how is from the lowest to the highest? Similarly, what I can do is I can do highest to the lowest. And that's not the only thing that happens. So what you can do is you can filter, sort, you can sort on multiple values. Sort by department, let's say, and then add, then sort by category, then sort by October. Smallest to highest. So you see how everything is organized now by department, deli, meat, produce, and then category. Let's move on to the next one now. Tables. So tables are like a critical function because a lot of times you're going to get the data which you have to put into a table format and you have to organize your data. You have to make it look nice and pretty. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to the home. I'm going to format table. Yes. So you see how this got formatted. Furthermore, I can change it around, right? It doesn't have to be a particular color. Depends on how you want to showcase your data. Now, if you want to enter new data, what you can do is you can go here, insert, row below, or if you want to do it on the bottom, you can do it on the bottom. Or if you want to add another column, then what you can do is you can right click, insert column to the left or right. Now let's move on to the next one, slicers. So slicers are a great way for you to get more input on your data. So for example, we look at this data set. Now a lot of data, but what if I just want to, what if I just care about meats, right? So this helps you break it down into meat, deli, produce. Okay, so we're gonna take this. We're going to take the data set, we're gonna insert. We're going to go to slicer, and then we're going to slice it by department to the example that we have. And now we can play around with it. Let's move on to the next one. Drop down. So drop down is another great function for you to know. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to create a drop down function. So what we're going to do is we're going to click. We're going to go to data. We are going to go to data validation, list, source. So this is going to be the source. Okay, so you see how originally it was nothing, but here we have added it. Oh, Punter, just give me one moment. Save, it went the other way, so let me go back and do this one more time. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to data, and then you're going to go to data validation. You're going to look at list. Then you're going to go here and you're going to click OK. And then it shows up the drop down. Okay, let's move to mix one charts. So charts are a critical way of showing your data. So what we want to do now is we're going to play around. So you see if I click on this data set, then I go to insert and then I click on different chart. For example, this is the column chart. I can also change the colors of it. It doesn't have to be a particular color. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to play around with this data set. And this time I'm going to create a chart. The chart is created. Then I can play around with it. I can add more information, for example, legends, clean it out. I'm going to try to create another chart now. This time it is going to be a line chart. So you see how we have created different kinds of chart from the same data set. So next, let's move on to the last but not the least, pivot tables. So with pivot tables, what happens is you have a lot of data you want to organize into a similar format like this. So what we are going to do is we're going to take an example. Let's go to the bottom. Click on your data set, go to pivot table. Yep. So this time it gets opened here. Let's organize our data. How do we want to see it? Do we want to see the date by the number of salesperson, or we can change this to have amount, how much revenue was brought in, or we can do product. I'm gonna remove this field. I want to focus just on my product. And I'm going to do how many salesperson is dedicated for each product, or I can say how much revenue each product brings. You can do sum of amounts. Sometimes what you can do is you can also break it down further, like showing the product, but by each date or month. So this is how you create your pivot table. Now this was a very quick overview of how you can use Excel and what are the key functionalities that Excel offers.